Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the first episode of the story, and a chance meeting leads Naruto Uzumaki to learn Genjutsu. Sure, he lacks talent, but once Naruto sets his mind to something, he will never give up until he completes it, and Naruto will not stop until he is a master of Genjutsu. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Now let's begin. Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha were positioned on the bridge that Team 7 used as their base. Kakashi Hatake, their Chunin sensei, had left shortly after they had finished their teamwork drills. Naruto observed Sakura moving towards Sasuke. She clasped her hands and gave the most bashful smile. "I'm curious, Sasuke is asking if you would like to go on a date with me." "No," he replied, before leaving the scene. Naruto's gaze became smaller as his eyes widened. Sasuke's refusal to go on a date with the beautiful Sakura left him puzzled, as he never comprehended why. Were we unaware of his good fortune? Nevertheless, he approached Sakura with a frown. Naruto began, "Sakura, do you want to go?" and soon the pain started to dissipate from the crown of his head. She retracted her fist and said, "No, you're not that bad. Stop bothering me, I'll never date with you." Sakura then left him alone again after turning around to leave. Naruto's expression faded as he shook his head and ignored the pain, his grin diminishing. Looking up at the sky, he was visibly dejected. It's possible that he could reduce his interference and make her feel more at ease. What was he thinking? No. If Sakura could demonstrate her superior physical appearance and abilities over Sasuke, she would be obligated to go out with him and become his friend. He bowed his fist in the air. At present, he is unaffected and his progress seems impractical. He stooped and breathed a deep breath. If Kakashi didn't teach him any new jutsu, there was no way for him to come back to Sasuke. The only way for Kakashi to move on from team exercises was by being satisfied with their teamwork, as he was too focused. Despite knowing that Kakashi was committed to teamwork, he didn't want to push him, as they had only made slight progress within the first month of becoming Team 7. "My preference is to train on my own, as I always do." Despite the fact that he could disregard many of the negative events in his life, Naruto was tired of being alone. He was always alone, and he had always been. Sasuke and Sakura had a chance to talk to him, but their sole reason was to do so, not to avoid it. Despite his repeated attempts to earn their trust and respect, he was met with failure and scorn. He set out on a walk through the woods, heading towards one of the clearings where he had been training for more than OC. In the event that his words didn't win their respect, he might make an effort to win them over with his actions instead of just saying it. Naruto was unaware that Kakashi had been watching his genin, so he left them behind. He had become accustomed to his team's inability to work together, but the feeling of disappointment was still present. Naruto, like many others, stood in front of the memorial stone and pondered on what his parents might be like now. His aspiration was that they had been remarkable shinobi who protected nobles and were treated like heroes. He envisioned his father standing tall and handsome, with each of his hands bearing a unique kunai, ready to go to war. Standing next to him, his mother's smile spread across her mouth like his own, holding out her trademark katana and ready to drink the blood of her enemies. He smiled with pride, but his parents' identity was still unknown, resulting in a bittersweet smile. He woke up from his daydream and headed straight to his new training location, which was conveniently located near the memorial stone. Due to his previous training being interrupted and having to go elsewhere, he made sure that nobody was near him. A secluded clearing was his go-to spot, and it would provide him with the privacy he craved. He crossed-sealed for his favorite trick, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, after ensuring that he wasn't being pursued. The clone's formation led to its fight with him. Naruto made sure to tap the clone with his hand when light hits. It was soon apparent that a single powerful strike would result in the disappearance of his clone, so he deliberately decreased the power behind his attacks to prevent this from happening. For almost 30 minutes, the initial clone persisted in fighting him until it disintegrated into a cloud of smoke. Once it happened, he created another clone, repeating the process. Naruto continued his fight until he defeated 2 more clones. Naruto's loss of awareness about the power he was using in his attacks led to a decrease in the duration of each clone. Upon completion, Naruto collapsed with his chest moving in and out. Fighting for over an hour was exhausting. "Shame on me," he shouted. Some birds swooped down from the trees upon hearing his yell, while others looked away and wondered why he was making such an intense noise. Naruto's muscles relaxed as he breathed and exhaled deeply. "Taijutsu is the only discipline I can train, and I don't feel like I'm improving." The birds that remained in the trees looked at him puzzledly. "I need to build up my strength," Naruto exclaimed, and then proceeded to walk to the waterfall to remove the sweat and dirt from his body. The waterfall was characterized by its warm temperature, which was the coolest feature. He had walked along the river that led to the waterfall and then to its source, which was made up of natural hot springs that flowed from the mountains around the village hidden in the leaves. He chose to clean his place rather than taking a cold shower in his own apartment. There was no indication of a problem with the water heater and Naruto couldn't figure out why. The most appealing aspect of the waterfall was that it was private, unlike the public training grounds. Naruto was confident that no one else knew where the waterfall was located, as he had never seen anyone use it before. During his summer vacation, he enjoyed spending 2 weeks camping in the area. He would come back to the village every few days to get some supplies, but since he lived mostly in the forest, unknown to him, his new training clearing was situated near the waterfall, a surprise that he welcomed with enthusiasm. Despite the danger of someone trailing him to his secret house, he utilized techniques from his past as a prankster to ensure his safety and took an alternate route to reach his hidden waterfall. He was at the edge of the forest near the waterfall when he heard the sound of leaves rustling and then froze in midway through. A woman was seen on the shores of the small lake that the waterfall emptied into. After regaining his focus, Naruto was able to slowly put his foot back into place and quickly crouched behind a tree. He typically would let his gut instincts take over when faced with a new situation, but he was extremely curious and didn't have to hear his mind. Naruto persisted in vanishing behind the tree to observe the woman's actions. Naruto could tell that this woman, with her back facing him, had a confidence and grace that few other women had. Her hair was both untidy and well-groomed, as if she were following her desires. He traced her hair down to the backside. He noticed white bands with rose thorns embroidered on them beneath it, but as there were no visible blood spots, he assumed that the woman was wearing those bandages as clothing. The woman's body was trailed by Naruto, who noticed that the bandages had come off just below her buttocks. Naruto was taken aback when he noticed the woman's well-defined buttocks were covered in bandages that made his skin feel warm. Her eyes kept tracking downwards to witness the most toned legs he had ever seen, with her muscles straining as she adjusted her balance. He could tell that she was a diligent worker who maintained her legs. The sight of the woman around him caused him to blink in amazement. He had no knowledge of the woman's identity as he couldn't see any part of her face. He noticed that her right arm was wrapped in a red sleeve and her hands and forearms were covered in tape. He was supposed to be gone, but the same sense of feeling returned. He had to be cognizant of the identity of this woman. Naruto observed the woman rise up and untie something where her forehead would be positioned. His eyes widened when they saw that she had unfastened the forehead protector and dropped it on a nearby rock. His thoughts were racing with a series of twitches as he perused the kunoichi, his fear, and the uncontrollable urge to get even. Although he was aware that she wasn't a novice, resigned himself to the knowledge that this woman was not merely sung as Chen, Huan, or castrated as male. The kunoichi's attire caught his attention as he contemplated Jnin, seemingly without any prior notice. He was completely taken aback when he saw her take off the clothes tied up with bandages. The kunoichi completely captured his attention as she exposed herself to the outside world, inch by inch with an astonishing intensity. His gaze flickered quickly as she deposited the clothes on the rock and secured them behind her back, when he noticed that she had bandages covering her chest and private areas. Naruto observed her muscles contract and stretch as she took off her mesh shirt and sleeve, leaving her back completely exposed apart from the bindings. No part of her body was left unguarded by her. The kunoichi's movement around Naruto caused his heart to beat faster than usual. The sensation of Naruto's red cheeks and brain pulse left him confused about the cause. After taking a deep breath and looking away from the woman, she appeared to have an upward thrust in her pants. An erection, as some of his neighbors called it, happened to him when they heard something similar. He shook his head and returned to the woman, hiding the strange experience. Upon revisiting the kunoichi, he observed her slowly taking off her chest straps and felt his heart rate increase. Her bindings were taken off and then the kunoichi placed them where the rest of her clothing was and reached down. Naruto was unsure of what was going to happen and attempted to move slowly but unsuccessfully, his eyes consumed by the kunoichi's smooth skin. He observed as the kunoichi's bindings were taken off, with wraps of cloth covering them. When Naruto finished, she was shown a scene that would leave many men heartbroken. Her unclothed lower body was in view as she bent over to grab her forehead protector. His body was in a state of constant flux as his eyesight appeared to enhance something he had only noticed after his sexy jutsu evaluation. The sight was immediately etched in his memory. He felt like a massive stream of blood coming out through his nose. He felt his eyes roll into the back of his head as he saw the kunoichi's breasts emerging from her legs. He was sprawled across the tree by himself when Naruto arrived. As Naruto stood, she saw the same kunoichi from earlier, her hair wet and shiny in the sun. She was clothed in all the necessary items, unlike her previous appearance. He didn't move, but he felt his old state of arousal returning with force. He gazed down and frowned at his erect penis. What's happening? He was unable to determine the cause of his unconsciousness or bleeding nose, but observed it only when the old Hokage read his adult literature or hit a pervert with the sexy jutsu. His eyes widened as he took that in. I am not a pervert. He lifted his fist in celebration, showing his enthusiasm to the world. Unfortunately for Naruto, the kunoichi were the ones who caught his vocalizations. Leave me alone, bro, she pleaded. Naruto's body moved without any apparent cause as he exited the shrubbery and stood in front of the kunoichi, seemingly unaware of her momentary shock on his face. Before Naruto's rage dissipated, he glanced at her with both eyes. With her hands on her hips, the kunoichi struck an impressive figure as she looked towards Naruto. Her ruby red eyes contributed to the effect, and the black rings within her pupils made her glare even more intimidating. Despite being aware that his actions would be met with ridicule, Naruto refused to back down and was confident that no one would ever ask him questions. Naruto and the kunoichi engaged in a prolonged stare-down, with neither of them giving much attention. What's your reason for being here? She quipped, finally speaking up. He immediately begged for mercy after he saw the righteous anger of kunoichi, as well as the cold gaze and sense of shame that came with it. I didn't mean to take a look at you when you were undressed, but I always clean here and I didn't want to walk back home and now I regret it, said the kunoichi. To Naruto's surprise, her lips, which were full of gloss and lipstick, rose to reveal a smile as her eyes softened. It was unintentional for her to assume that he wasn't a pervert trying to see her naked, so she could at least understand. Despite not feeling any regret about what he witnessed, despite the consequences of his actions, her eyes suddenly opened up. Ignore my fears, don't be afraid, Naruto said, shaking his sandals in his right foot. He smelt the scent of the forest, which must have come from the woman in front of him. The scent resembled a blend of roses and lavender, which was something he had predicted wouldn't harmonize but somehow managed to merge seamlessly, leaving him in euphoria. He savored the aroma for a moment before hearing the voice of the kunoichi cut through his plans. Would you like to come in contact with us? Let's talk. Naruto's spine was shivering as he saw the kunoichi looking down at him. He moved to a flattering spot on the ground and sat down as quickly as he could. Alright, how are you? How did you come across this waterfall? I thought I was the only one who knew about it. He said, by now I'm aware that she wasn't mean to hurt me, but when I thought about how women treated perverts like Sakura, the prime example, I kind of shuddered. The woman approached him while sitting on her knees, forming a close bond. It's conceivable that you don't remember me, but I suppose you've seen me before. He squinted in his eyes and then appeared to accuse her, finally remembering who the kunoichi was. Are you Kiba's sensei your own? The kunoichi asked, raising a smile. That I am a person. Karini is the person I am referring to. Naruto Uzumaki is the ideal persona for you. Naruto's nod was intense and passionate. I came across your question a few days ago and I took advantage of it to shower here. I was happy to find it, as I struggle with taking showers myself. Naruto nodded as he accepted the situation. I understand the meaning behind this statement from you. It's the perfect shower spot, wouldn't you say? Karini quipped, her hair shivered. There wasn't a single strand that was out of place. That's the truth, she declared. That brings me to your intended outcome, she stated, her voice stripped of all emotion. Naruto's eyes dimmed in appearance. Despite not expecting to be present, Karini conveyed her regret by raising her hand. I'm under a rocked apology, she said. She stopped abruptly, appearing to assemble her thoughts. Naruto was about to defend himself when Karini asked if they had seen him undress. Are you aware that spying on people while they take their baths is illegal? Naruto questioned, shaking his head. No, it's not. It may be against public decency, but it shouldn't be. Karini sighed and applied pressure to her hair after being caught naked in public. It's a shame that this kind of bullying should be criminalized. Even though you weren't trying to peek out on me, Naruto smiled. You accepted blame, I won't disclose this to anyone. It's the final thing I want to hear about what happened just now. Naruto expressed his gratitude by saying, thank you. It was a complete absence of anything. Actually, I should have taken a chance and noticed you initially. The fact that you were able to keep your face hidden for so long was truly remarkable. Naruto seized his pants and struck his fists against the fabric. He lowered his head in genuine surprise and shame. I'm curious to know who I am as a person. Why do you seem so kind? I am disliked by almost everyone, and those who don't hate me show no signs of liking me. I am uncertain about the villagers' beliefs. I'm only seeing someone needing a friend, and if you have any reservations, I want to be your friend. The tightness of Naruto's pants was palpable. He raised his head above Karini once more. In contrast to the others, Karini gave him a chance to clarify her actions, and she didn't dismiss him without reason. She was the one who desired to be his friend. It's something I would like to have. Her expression brought a smile to her face. It seems like our friendship is a result of what you said. Naruto's hands were raised upwards. Karini-sensei, thank you, he exclaimed softly, but his expression made a strong impression of shame. What made him appear so unreliable? Karini couldn't contain her laughter and smiled. While Naruto was about to give in, he noticed Karini smiling, and that smile gradually began to spread over his face. He was happy to have the sensation of being accepted by someone for only the second time in his life. Just one more thing, she suddenly stated. Naruto's head tilted to the side as he was baffled. If I shower in this location, please do not look at me. With a firm nod to his breath, Naruto nodded incredulously. Good news. It's getting late and I have to get home. It's possible that we can revisit and have a second chance to meet. Naruto rose from her position as she turned to leave. Karini-sensei is the name given to this person. Karini raised his eyebrows and turned around, asking for a walk home. I know that sounds wonderful, but you don't have to be concerned about me. It's not a problem at all. He expressed his gratitude to Karini's kindness in any way he could. Are you under the impression that a man should always take the initiative to walk sex home? This comes after we became friends. She sported a slight smile. Hey, what are you expecting? Let's go, Mr. Gentleman. He stood up and walked over to her, leaving the clearing behind them. As darkness shrouded the hidden leaf village, Naruto made his way towards the training ground's edge. They were approaching Karini's apartment and he had been walking with him in peaceful silence. Out of nowhere, Karini asked him how he found the waterfall. Naruto's expression was one of smiley, with a rasping and sharp-witted look on his face. I came across it during summer vacation. While camping nearby, I came across it. You're aware that it has a connection with the hot springs found in the village, she quipped. I had no idea. This is the reason why it's always warm. I've discovered a suitable training spot in the vicinity, and now I'm considering it as my personal sanctuary. Her gaze caught her attention with a curious expression. I acknowledged the statement. When Naruto mentioned his training, he was overcome with thoughts of his lack of progress and wondered about Karini's credentials, so to speak. Are you a Karini-sensei? Could she answer, yes, Naruto, confidently. Naruto's smile was a personal expression, not something he could do alone. You're asking about what you think? He initiated, but then diverted his gaze. He had already started to ask her for things after they became friends. Karini smiled and showed a positive attitude. If you have something to say, don't hesitate to share it with me. Naruto breathed deeply. Is there anything you're capable of teaching me? Karini hesitated, but she quickly made a complete recovery. Naruto nodded and said, Are you a sensei of Kakashi Hatake? He possesses greater knowledge and experience than I possess, making him the perfect teacher for teaching me anything. Naruto's gaze was aimed at different directions than his actual one. You're correct, my friend. I apologize for my bothersome behavior. A strained expression was visible on his face. The two were left in a state of tension after that. The journey continued without interruption for the rest of their lives. Karini eventually halted his pursuit of the track. Here we go again, said one of the speakers. Naruto, thank you for joining me. Naruto looked to the apartment complex and smiled broadly at Karini. Greetings. I'll be back soon. He paused briefly, seeking the appropriate words. And so it goes. It is with great gratitude that we offer our thanks. He averted his gaze and made his way back to his dwelling. Before she sighed and entered her apartment complex, Karini looked back at him from a brief glance. The joy in Naruto's eyes made him feel full with elation. He questioned the ease with which they had established a bond, but dismissed the negative thoughts and was glad that he had someone else to call his friend. He slowed down as he drove past the main square of the village. Nevertheless, his smile was unshakable as he carried on with his journey home. He surveyed the red light district in the hidden leaf village where his apartment was situated. He purportedly had the intention of securing an apartment in the market district, but he didn't accept that notion for what it was. He had forgotten to wash himself, and so upon returning home, he took off his clothes and went into his cold shower, completely unoccupied by the icy water. He drenched himself in a towel and went to sleep afterward. Upon discovering his first new friend since school, with the help of a black frog-shaped cap and pajamas, he lay in his bed and smiled. He had only been aided by Iruka at the academy, and he saved his life from Mizuki, who was known for his treacherance. He acknowledged and accepted him as well. Although he was willing to be friends with his team, they were not really his teammates. He finally reflected on the Hokage, who was like his grandfather to him. Despite his unwavering trust in him, he was unsuccessful. The villagers still showed fear and disdain towards him. A few of them attempted to prevent him from shopping at their stores, but they were the ones who got pranked by him. It was a stroke of luck for them, as they couldn't prevent him from shopping in any location he chose. The Hokage was fortunate that he didn't have to endure any of the villagers openly attacking or subversive his efforts. Knowing the reason behind it, he began to view his village and the Hokage's actions in a new light. The Hokage misled him by providing false information. He may have claimed it was for his own good, but having prior knowledge of the nine-tailed fox would have been a significant asset. He would be able to understand why everyone had such a strong negative opinion of him. His trust in the Hokage suffered a setback because of his untruthfulness, and there were other things that could have been kept hidden from him. Could it be due to his awareness of what his parents were or being the last member of dynasty? The Hokage's trust may have been stronger than before, but Naruto was still willing to give him a chance. Karini was not met by him until that very day, but he had faith in him. She exhibited kindness, gentleness, and consideration towards him, even knowing that he was a Jinchuriki. He felt good around her, a feeling he wanted to get used to. He fell asleep with a smile on his face, eager to embrace the world and demonstrate his worth to them. Naruto's alarm clock woke him up from a delightful dream. He covered his eyes with a hand to shield himself from the sun's intense glare that could be seen through the curtains. Eventually, he reached for the alarm clock and deactivated it. He appreciated the silence and arose from his bed, placing his bare feet on the cold floor. After placing his frog-shaped cap on the bed, he proceeded to the toilet. He looked in the mirror, bleary-eyed, and then applied cold water to his face. Once his mouth was clean and fresh, he brushed his teeth and then entered his bedroom to dry himself off. Soon after, he donned his distinctive tracksuit, commencing with his pants, and then quickly changed into his shirt and jacket. He could find other outfits, but this orange tracksuit was practical and his preferred choice. Not only did it draw the attention, but it was also beneficial as he wanted to remain concealed after playing a practical joke. He was able to blend in with the crowd, unlike black or white. Orange's popularity as a color was advantageous. To see the vast amount of money he had saved, Naruto lifted a loose floorboard and placed it in his mouth. He contemplated buying weapons with the money, but it wasn't necessary. His armaments were yet to be utilized for operational purposes. It's possible that he'll be able to throw a kunai in upcoming years. His wallet, resembling a frog's, was filled with bills and money as he took it out of his savings. He believed the sum was only 160,000 RY. It ought to be satisfactory. Unless they are given a more lucrative mission soon, Naruto may have to use his savings. In the beginning, D-Ranks was only paid a nominal amount, so he was happy to have some money. With his wallet stuffed into his jacket, he went to the kitchen and took out a carton of fresh milk and sipped on red bean soup. After consuming the carton of spoiled milk, he made sure to never buy or consume expired milk again. He shook with fear and consumed the milk before pouring the soup into a bowl, quickly finishing it down. Besides ramen, red bean soup was one of his favorite meals and had been a decent breakfast for him. It was a cost-effective and uncomplicated endeavor. If he didn't have ramen, red bean soup would be a good substitute. He went for a sandwich provided he had the option of having bread and meat. He groped his breakfast, applied some sleeve pressure to his face, and started working on another day of team building. A D rank could be something he could achieve if given the opportunity. With a burst of food and spirits intact, Naruto left his apartment building and ran outside. He ran to meet his team member's place and reflected on his new friend, Karini, who he had just met earlier. His longing to see her again brought him back to the fact that she was so sweet and beautiful. The fact that he had someone like her made him feel better about himself. He aspired to have more friends like her. Despite the villagers' gaze, he paid no attention to his happiness and was too consumed with it to spare them any glances. His knowledge of the nine-tailed fox's presence within him made him aware that they had a strong dislike for him. He could only demonstrate to them that he was Naruto Uzumaki, the Hokage who had come into existence, and not some clandestine or punching bag. This thought prompted him to keep running, increasing his strides and widening his smile. He didn't feel the need to compel it, because the smile on his face was what really stood out. Naruto's teammates were already present on the bridge when he reached it. Despite his efforts, Kakashi was not present. He uttered the words, "Morning, Sakura, Sasuke," trying not to be loud and annoying in general. Actions, not utterances. According to Sakura, it was a beginning event. Sasuke nodded as he said, "Hit you." With a smile on his face, Naruto expressed his satisfaction with the outcome of his actions. He commenced playing the waiting game. He had a plan while waiting. After locating a leaf and recalling the academy drill, he endeavored to make it stick to his forehead. It's a good thing he left that class only after Iruka showed the exercise. While Naruto was completing his chakra exercise, Sakura and Sasuke chose to sit quietly. During the time, Sakura observed Sasuke while he was still as a statue. Sakura inquired, "What's your current activity?" Naruto's focus was hindered and he had a leaf fall from his forehead. "What is the appearance of this chakra control exercise?" After that, he picked up the leaf and started from scratch. Sakura's eye felt like it was twiddling. "I am aware of what it is. I'm curious as to why you're doing it." "I aim to gain mastery over my chakra," he stated in a forthright manner. Sakura scowled and declined his advances, opting instead to observe Sasuke. Naruto centered his attention on his chakra, but the leaf fell, repeatedly. It took him almost an hour to break through, but he eventually managed to stick it on his forehead. Naruto maintained the technique for almost an hour without interruption. He became restless and came up with methods to make the exercise more challenging. He acknowledged that if he allowed his mind to wander, the workout would become more challenging. The simplest alternative exercise he attempted was to move the leaf in different directions on his body, using only his chakra as a simple exercise. He directed the chakra to the underside of the leaf and made a deliberate effort to detach the channel that was holding it, allowing it to move towards its new location. Regrettably, the leaf fell away as he relinquished it and ended up on the other side of the bridge. Trying to figure out how to complete the exercise, he held onto another leaf and stared at it intently. The leaf would be pushed in the desired direction by using the excess chakra, and then he could attach it to other areas of his body. After placing the leaf, he directed the chakra to a location below it and endeavored to increase its energy without increasing its flow. The leaf fell off his forehead and landed on the ground below. He reacted by biting his teeth in frustration. He retrieved the leaf and gave it another shot, but it did not work. With each successive setback, he became more and more frustrated. The point came when his annoyance clashed with his control, and the leaf failed to attach when he placed it on his head. Sakura observed Naruto's failure to complete the workout and then shook her head. Naruto remained unresponsive. Regardless, he was going to complete this exercise. To prevent anything from appearing, Sasuke meditated by closing his eyes. After Naruto's death, he only opened his eyes for the first time. He wasn't surprised to see Sakura staring at him. It's fortunate that she only liked him because of his dreamy appearance and not for being an Uchiha. He hoped that she would stop bothering him and start taking it upon herself to become a ninja. He turned to see the only person on his team who he considered good. Naruto's acting wasn't as dumb as his actions suggest, despite his tendency to behave like a loser. He was erratic and frequently caught me off guard, both during and after battle. He never underestimated him as a wild card because of his unpredictable nature. He would never be a formidable shinobi had he not been able to fully exploit that trait. The leaf exercise, which appears to be a variation, was not completed by Naruto due to his inability to release an adequate amount of chakra, as Sasuke observed that the leaf moved differently each time. He was going to humiliate himself at this pace, and it quickly became apparent that he had become old. Naruto. Maintain a consistent amount of chakra during the exercise. Naruto was too distracted to hear Sasuke's question, so he asked him what his object was. Irrationality. You're listening to me, right? The loser seemed to be making progress, but he was not willing to offer any assistance. However, Sasuke and his friends were oblivious to Kakashi's long gaze towards them. Kakashi, however, exhibited his presence with the subtlety of a fireworks show. Sasuke's complete silence was brought to a close by that event. Naruto was next to Kakashi, who exclaimed, "Yo! You're running behind!" Sakura shouted back. Naruto's habit of not yelling at Kakashi led him to glance at him quickly, but Sasuke wasn't bothered. This old lady was in need of a helping hand, you know? Kakashi commenced his speech. Sasuke thought he was a complete loser. Replace your excuses with someone who values respect. With a smile on his face, Kakashi appeared amused and playful. To make up for the lack of a mission, we can simply perform teamwork exercises instead. Come to the training grounds and meet me within 5 minutes. Kakashi disappeared in a series of leaves. Kakashi wouldn't reveal it to him, but Sasuke was moved by the speaker's speech on teamwork and companionship, and his injuries to the seasoned ninja made him reflect on what he had just said. Naruto and Sakura were not inferior to him, even though he was stronger than them. He had a problem with teamwork, which meant that he had to put up with jokes instead of learning new jutsu and strengthening his body. Despite his dissatisfaction with the D rank, Sakura seemed unperturbed by her opinions. As long as she did her part and didn't bother him, he would be open to working with her. Upon realizing that Kakashi had left as soon as he was supposed to, Naruto stopped performing the leaf exercise and looked around desperately. Sakura sighed and inquired about Kakashi-sensei's fate. Just follow us, we'll do it. Are you capable of doing that? Naruto glared at her and smiled. Very well, he exclaimed, trailing behind Sakura and Sasuke, who had determined that haste wasn't wasteful. Because completing these unintelligent group tasks was the only way to move forward, he would fulfill his duties. It wasn't necessary for him to like it, but if it was the only way to move forward, he'd do his best to put this behind him. Despite the circumstances, he didn't have any control over the matter. Naruto followed his teammates on foot, paying attention to how they were treated by the public during their walk to the training facility. A few people approached Sakura and she greeted her with kindness. A group of villagers looked at Sasuke with admiration, but after making eye contact, the character stared straight at them. He snorted deeply, aggravating how Sasuke seemed to ignore any acknowledgement he received. He noticed that some of the locals were staring at him. He resorted to disregarding them, as they were a waste of his time. He didn't want to overreact in front of his teammates, which was a positive thing. He was aware that their friendship with him was solely due to their shared commitment as teammates, but his confidence in being friends had begun to wane. Upon entering the third training ground, Team 7 observed Kakashi sitting on a training post. "Glad you had a chance," Kakashi exclaimed to his teammates. "What are we doing today?" Naruto asked, his eagerness to learn and overcome him. "Are you listening to me from the bridge? We're collaborating on team building." He ascended from the training post and proceeded to walk towards them. Despite not being able to learn any new jutsu, Naruto prioritized finishing the exercise to the best of his abilities. It's conceivable that he could be taught something in reality. With a hand clap, Kakashi proceeded to move. "Let's form a triangle, man." A triangular shape was formed by Team 7. Kakashi flicked his hand towards Naruto and took something from his pocket. "Take hold of this opportunity." Naruto's hand was released and he grasped the small white object that was flying through the air. He looked at the object in his hand and frowned. "Why did you give me an egg, Kakashi-sensei?" "It's part of a new team challenge." Naruto's head tilted to the side, causing him to be confused. "Why do we need an egg as part of our team?" Kakashi asked, smiling. "Glad you posed the question. Naruto, you're planning to take that egg and throw it to a fellow player. It's important to keep in mind that you can't let the egg break while flinging it to your teammate. Knowing your limits and those of your teammates is crucial to accomplish this. If you can throw the egg for half an hour without it breaking, I'll stop. If you are capable of doing that, we will proceed to the next level. What are the other levels, sensei? Sakura inquired, somewhat uncertain. He said, we do this exercise with more dangerous objects. Naruto made a statement about how Kakashi was enjoying the glares that Sakura and Sasuke were giving him. Start off, the flames of life are burning bright. After reading his orange novel, Kakashi proceeded to read it. Naruto faced off against his fellow 7 members after a brief glance. With his right hand, Sasuke grasped the egg that he had just belched at him. He threw it to Sakura, who then gave it back to him. Naruto received the item from Sasuke and proceeded to fling it at Sakura, who then chucked it away. At Sasuke's place. He smirked and held the egg, but then frowned when the yolk exploded in his hand. Sasuke examined the egg's remnants and grimaced. Sasuke remarked, "It's not right," as he said. Naruto found amusement in Sasuke's prank. The picture was too much of a joke to handle. Sakura yelled out, "You dude." Sasuke's laughter caused Naruto to stop, as Sakura quickly turned him around, even though he was completely innocent. I don't think Sasuke was responsible for trying to appear cool. Sakura's hush was filled with anger. What do you think? Sasuke chimed in response. Let's give it another chance, according to the voice. After a brief moment, Kakashi sighed and proceeded to throw another egg at Sasuke. Don't be untrustworthy. The egg was cradled by Sasuke and then thrown at Naruto. The egg was snatched by Naruto. He threw it at Sakura, who then hurled it back to Sasuke, completely disregarding his actions. Sakura was glared at by Sasuke, who then threw his head back in the air. Her pink cheeks were reminiscent of her hair, and she promptly threw the egg at Naruto. Upon receiving it, he raised his hand and closed his fist. The egg was actually passed down the hatches by Sakura. The yolk entered his fingers and he experienced a flush. How can he be so stupid? Loser was the sentence Sasuke gave him, and it made Naruto's speech audible. Naruto smirked in wonder. Naruto, what was that? Don't jump for joy right after consuming the egg. Either Sakura or I can be rescued by throwing it back. He directed his gaze towards their other teammate. Sakura, please cease being a nuisance. Naruto let out a growl while breathing. Yeah, okay, I got it. Sakura retorted to Sasuke by saying, Naruto, can you believe it, and seemed to be unaware of the message she had received from him. Sakura was not only trying to keep him away from the gym, but she also tended to avoid challenging him and supporting Sasuke. Sasuke's attempt to become the peacemaker was unexpected due to his insult towards him, which surprised him. Naruto's response was, I know, in a state of frustration. This is the end goal, let's make it a reality. Another egg was taken by Kakashi and thrown at Sakura. With all her might, Sakura flung the egg at Naruto. Naruto was asked what the egg spilled on his jacket, causing it to turn yellow and white. You caused Sasuke to feel angry towards me. Sakura retorted. Naruto snorted. I'm not at fault for it. You only threw the egg at me once. With a vein running in her forehead, she stared at him. Despite everything, he still felt that it made her appear exceptionally lovely. Without the egg, we won't be screwed up. I'm not going to throw an egg on my jacket. Sakura approached him, but Kakashi impeded her. Sakura, I don't get it, he declared. Refute my remorse and offer an apology. An apology was issued by Sakura in a blurred tone. Naruto nodded as he accepted the situation. If it didn't occur again, he had the ability to move on. We'll give it a chance and see if we can succeed again. Naruto, presenting you with an egg. Kakashi instructed Sakura not to seek vengeance. Naruto managed to take the egg and execute the task correctly. Without any issues, the entire Team 7 was able to throw the egg one after the other. Sometimes, Sakura may throw the egg at Naruto. Despite the setbacks, Team 7 was able to prevent the egg from breaking for over an hour. With her fist pumping in the air, Sakura declared, "We've accomplished our goal." Nodding was a gesture that Kakashi did. It appears that you can execute the exercise with confidence when necessary. Tomorrow is the day we'll examine if you can complete the next section of this exercise. I look forward to seeing you again. Kakashi disappeared into the night, waving and disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness after he completed the drill. Despite his lack of luck, they had successfully worked together to create a team. Naruto was moved by the success and decided to visit the library to obtain something worthwhile. He quickly left the training ground, leaving Sasuke and Sakura behind. Instead of the unpleasant egg odor around his house, he headed back to the library. He promptly returned home and washed his hands to remove the egg stains. After completing the task, he removed his jacket and swapped his black shirt with a white one featuring an orange spiral. After putting his wallet in his pocket and wearing a head covering around his neck, he left his apartment and quickly headed towards the library. There had to be something that made him stronger. He encountered an unfamiliar person and fell on his back just before he could access the library. "Naruto?" Naruto responded and shook his head. Naruto exclaimed, "Karini-sensei," with his head bowed. "I was rushing to the library, so I wasn't giving up on my time. I'm sorry that I came across you." Karini gave him a smile. Repentance given as acceptable. "Why do you want to go to the library?" Naruto asked, his eyes wide open. "Kakashi-sensei is not introducing new jutsu to us, but rather engages in teamwork. It's crucial to learn how to work with your team," Karini remarked. "It has the potential to make a significant impact on missions. However, I can sense your apprehension in trying to improve. It's my opinion that people should be patient." Naruto nodded as he spoke. It was a justifiable situation, but his patience was put to the test every day. "I'm not willing to be left behind. The reason I want to learn new jutsu is from the library. You seem to be exhibiting initiative, at least on the surface." Her eyes were clouded by thought, and she put a finger on her chin. "According to Naruto, I'll give you a jutsu scroll, but only if you show me your hand." Smiling, I thought to myself, that was good. Naruto nodded and smiled. Naruto thanked Karini-sensei for following him, but then left briefly to make a shadow clone. He had the clone undergo a transformation and instructed it to search the library without being detected. After it departed, he went back to his home in Karini's vicinity. "Where is Karini-sensei headed?" as asked by Naruto. The fact that they had been walking to a more prosperous area of the Hidden Leaf Village made Naruto feel uneasy. His savings were severely impacted by his inability to afford the majority of his purchases made online. Karini said, "I have a place in mind there, that's where I would pick. I have a close relationship with the shop owner, who is an old acquaintance." Naruto asked, "Do you think he would want me in his store?" "He would," Karini declared. "In the event that he doesn't, we'll have to find a different retailer." Naruto was pleased to hear that Karini was willing to support him, and he nodded. Karini was elated and smiled broadly. Did he say anything wrong, or was it not true? The unsettling anger he had felt yesterday had returned, but it wasn't directed at him. Naruto inquired, "Are you alright?" "Naruto, I'm doing fine." As Karini breathed his last breath, the feeling of dread that had been present for years became palpable. She extended her hand to him. "I propose a speedy route to reach you when in doubt." When Naruto calmed down, he took hold of her. They vanished into the wind of leaves shortly after he did. After witnessing the body flicker, Naruto was both stunned and thrilled, finding himself in front of a vast store. Bright gold characters were used to paint the windows of the shop with the name Dragon's Claw. A variety of weapons and armor were exhibited. He had a sense of familiarity with this store, but couldn't be certain. Naruto, what are you waiting for? Karini, her voice is a blend of anger and sadness. Do you think I will be punished if the shop owner doesn't kick me out? Naruto inquired. He was afraid to be embarrassed in front of Karini. Naruto was observed by Karini as he bent down on his knee. If he does, I will be with you immediately. Agreed? Her eyes indicated the warmth in her voice. She entered the room, calling for him to follow her. Naruto initially resisted, but eventually became determined and pursued Karini indoors, confident that his new friend would support him. Upon entering the shop, he was almost overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of merchandise on display. A vast array of weapons, spanning from small swords to the naginata, filled the shelves with ammunition. The weapons on his mind were so impressive that it would be challenging for him to decide which one to use. He ceased his gaze as a tall, muscular man with brown eyes and black hair exited the storage room. His voice was heard booming from across the shop. Karini, what brought you here? The weapons I sold you were sufficient for your team. He smiled broadly as he approached Karini and Naruto. A gold short-sleeved shirt and black trousers were worn by him. Karini repaid the man's smile with one of hers and placed Naruto in front of them. I recently met a new acquaintance and wanted to give you her shop some serious thought. He possesses an item. It's a shopping problem, isn't it? Naruto's appearance caught the eye of Takashi, who maintained a fixed gaze. The intensity of his gaze grew. Naruto retreated from Takashi, but he couldn't resist. He pranked his store to possess it and showed his spirit by making eye contact with the large shopkeeper. They both remained unmoved. All of a sudden, Naruto and Takashi exchanged smiles, with Takeshi grinning as the latter cracked open his mouth. Naruto Uzumaki, the top prankster in the Hidden Leaf Village, has gone ahead and rubbed my store with yours truly. The sign appeared to be familiar. Takashi yelled out, and Naruto grasped it with his hand, exchanging a firm shake. With a smile on his face, Karini gazed at Naruto and Takashi while her lips were drawn to their gaze. I never knew you and you were acquainted, she said. One of his pranks was given to me by him, Takashi said. You're here, so it's likely that you have a need for something. Naruto's blunder, how can I help you? Even after pinning Takashi down, Karini still had a strong desire to help by providing him with resupply options such as affordable clothing and weapons. Naruto's initial reaction was a stunned look down at Takashi, who then smiled. If you're in need of a place to shop, Naruto, it's always possible to do so here. If you're visiting us for the first time, I'll give you a discount. With wide glasses, Naruto stared at Takashi and then smiled profusely, threatening to split his face. That sounds like a yes, Takashi replied with resolute confidence, his face fixed on her cheek. I'll show you our attire first. What size do you usually wear in clothing? I would only purchase a shirt if I had the chance. The size of it was inconsequential compared to its significance. Naruto's actions were observed by Karini. Screw your shirt off. Naruto inquired, what? Karini asked for your shirt size. Are you able to give me something good? Takashi asked. He gives off the impression of being minuscule when I look at him. Is it not a problem to ensure safety? Karini asked. It was a strange request, but it seemed like Karini simply wanted to help him out. He removed his white shirt, exposing his chest. He had a slightly muscular build, but his torso wasn't quite as defined as he imagined it to be. Kakashi instructed Team 7 to perform drills before executing teamwork, but today was an unrestricted day to rest their bodies. Naruto, what's your daily meal plan? Karini asked me, slowly. I consume ramen almost every meal, Naruto revealed. It's the only instance when I don't have any. Afterward, I'll have red bean soup or a sandwich to feed me. They're both inexpensive and effortless to make. Naruto's eyes were blank as Karini looked at him. It seems like you're not getting enough nourishment. While a diet isn't as harmful, you still need to consume other food items apart from ramen and red bean soup. Sandwiches are not enough to satisfy everyone. Naruto's response was one of frowning, as he did. After noticing the size tag on Naruto's shirt, Karini glanced at the shirt and gave it to her. That's not a problem for Naruto, so don't be anxious. Until then, I want to introduce you to some new clothes. Naruto did not follow Karini to the clothing aisle, despite his walk. Naruto questioned, what's the problem with my tracksuit? He glanced at Karini. Are you in need of a change? Karini inquired. While Naruto's attire is captivating, what would happen if it were dirty or destroyed during combat? Karini wasn't jesting anyone for wearing an orange shirt or his athletic track attire. It's something I can't forget about. Although I can wear my new clothes, I will be able to keep my tracksuit in case of need. Karini's argument was more logical now that he had the responsibility to clean his jacket. Very accurately, Karini remarked. I carry a red version of this dress for my emergencies. The knowledge that I have another set of clothes allows me to concentrate on more pressing matters. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness. What's the next step? Karini asked with a smile. Stay in this place. I have the expertise to guide you through this. Naruto observed Karini's fluid movement through the aisles. She came back with a package of clothes, providing them to him. Examine this on. I'm of the opinion that you'll have a great fondness for them. She declared, exceeding his expectations. Naruto smiled and departed to the changing rooms, feeling grateful. Upon his release, he was dressed in Karini's clothing, which included a dull gray shirt with an orange spiral in the middle and contrasting dull gray pants with bright orange stripes at the sides. His neck had not been removed and his forehead protector was still on it. Naruto asked, "What's up?" Karini's approval was evident as he watched Takashi give Naruto another chance, with a smile on his face. It's a matter of having something to conclude it, he stated. Naruto was given a bright orange sash by Takashi, who went through the bargain bin to retrieve it. Naruto promptly fastened the sash around his waist and gazed at himself in reflection with a smile. It was evident that he had a good appearance. Karini and Takashi appeared to be satisfied as well. I acknowledged the statement. Karini inquired if the sash would act as a distraction for the enemy. In the same way that my sleeve benefits me. Takashi nodded in agreement. That's the reason why I got it. One of the shelves contained something that caught Naruto's eye. The burnt orange sweater had a collar that was similar to Sasuke's shirt. The collar of the sweater was less noticeable and resembled a hood inside. 6 strings were arranged on the sides of the collar, with 3 located on each side of its center and 2 hanging loosely from the center. The sweater that Naruto wore was worn over his shirt, and it perfectly complemented his new pants. Naruto, did you really want that? Naruto rewarded her with a thumbs up. After resoiled in the changing rooms, he went back to his desk and then returned to Takashi, who had taken his place next to the sales counter. What weapons does Naruto think they are? Karini answered, it's this one. She had on her weapon holster, which contained kunai, shuriken, explosive tags and ninja wire. Takashi went into sales mode and explained that the total number of weapons was 38,000 ri, which is higher than the standard weapons set of 20,000. If you pay 7,000 ri, I'll send 3 copies of each clothing set to your apartment for free. This entire deal was a bargain that didn't last. Naruto was overjoyed to realize that he didn't have to pay such an enormous amount. After taking 45,000 Ri from his wallet, Karini looked at Naruto's wallet as if it were alive, like a frog that consumed money. Are you concerned about your financial situation and food or clothing? Naruto asked, nodding in reply. The cost isn't very high, and I always have to pay a lot of money. Naruto was left speechless as Karini scowled again. She loosened her fist after making eye contact with them. Karini responded with a sarcastic, "I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm taken aback by what I just read. You are not meant to be. This shop is simply amazing. I'll definitely be back here for more shopping experiences." With a beaming smile, Naruto brought to Karini's joy and warmth. "Naruto," Takashi said, "I'll be happy to have you over here. If you give me your details, I'll send your extra clothing within 3 days." In Naruto's case, he did so. After that, he gazed outside the store, where the sun was beginning to set. "Thanks, Takashi." He turned his attention to his new friend. "Karini-sensei, I request that you walk me home. Following your actions today, I am compelled to do the least." Naruto was addressed by Takashi, who smiled and leaned back to whisper his words. "Naruto, I was completely unaware that you were such a gentleman. It's possible that you have to be older to pursue a relationship with Karini." Naruto's eyes flicked with a fiery red hue. "I mean, she's just a friend. What the heck am I doing here?" He exited the store, where Karini was waiting for him. "Naruto." Karini halted him in his tracks. Subsequently, she smiled suggestively. "You were saying, I need you to take me somewhere else. I know you are a man, but others have commented on the honesty of your words." Despite Naruto's flushing, he was able to control his own impulses and accompany Karini as they arrived at her residence. The distance between Karini's apartment and the walk was covered in amiable silence. Upon exiting the complex, Naruto glanced at Karini and smiled once more. "Karini-sensei, I am grateful for the support you have provided me with, thank you." Naruto's smile was returned to Karini with her own response. "Naruto, I found it enjoyable. Fortunately, Takashi gave you a discount as well. That is a non-occurrence." Naruto's gaze flickered, his eyes fixed to the sides of his head. "I remember my clone doing something wrong, what's that?" Naruto said, "You are my shadow clone jutsu. Expressive, notably in the case of a genital anomaly. The special ability of the shadow clone enables its user to acquire the memories of a clone after it is dispelled." Naruto's cranial movements were overshadowed by his head-scratching expression. "What is the definition of dispel?" Naruto's gaze was directed at Karini. "That's really cool, man." Karini expressed gratitude by smiling. The redness in her eyes was accentuated by it. "I'm a sensei, that's the extent of my duties. It's my duty to be knowledgeable about these matters." She had the appearance of a sensei, wasn't she? And she was willing to lend ear to him as well. "I need to leave now," she said. "Go ahead and see you later." Naruto left Karini's face glowing with delight as he ran away. He smiled and rushed home with his new clothes in hand. He didn't mind having nothing useful in the library to read on his own, but it still irritated him. He was equipped with new attire, weapons, and the ability to access the Dragon's Claw whenever he pleased. He completed a collaborative task. After arriving at his apartment, Naruto shifted into his sleepwear and placed it on the bed. He pondered Karini before dozing off. He had only known her for a brief 2-day stay, but he spent most of his time with her. He hoped that the friendship would persist, given the warm feeling in his chest every time he thought about her. Naruto woke up and carried out his daily tasks. He looked through his wardrobe and decided to wear his dark gray shirt and pants, hoping not to be marred by his new outfit. After that, he fastened his orange sash around his waist and headed to the kitchen. He found out that he had opened the kitchen cabinets. I have no plans of doing anything. He had only breakfast yesterday and didn't eat anything else. With a deep sighing voice, Naruto chose to concentrate on himself before heading out to his team. Kakashi's lateness ensured that he wouldn't be missing out on anything. Naruto snatched his wallet and placed his unclothed clothing in the bag he received from Takashi. He then put on his sandals and left, ready to start his three-step plan. The women who waved at him were met with a smile from him as he passed through the red light district. Regardless of whether it was a group of women who had fun with men, he was pleased that someone would acknowledge him. He was astonished that the women had been doing it for some time and never gave up. The love they had for him was genuine or fictitious, and he didn't want it to end. He couldn't justify his feelings towards those women. It had a certain resemblance to his perception of Karini. Is it because of their age or did they have different feelings for him? It's a given that he didn't feel this way around Sakura. Sakura was initially attracted to him because he found her both cute and intelligent. Karini encompassed both that and a lot more. Her presence made him feel important and loved, and she had a maturity that Sakura couldn't match. He had a tendency to believe that his affection for Sakura was based on an unconventional tactic to keep Sasuke from cheating, as Sakura was capable of having her as his partner if he was willing to reciprocate her love. But he found out that wasn't the truth. He had a strong liking for her. Karini had been the main focus of his attention for the last 2 days, and Sakura had almost become a secondary thought. Did he have feelings for Karini but not for Sakura? After all these years of being acquainted with her, it was clear that she had never been kind to him when she wasn't coerced. Karini was not obliged to do anything. Naruto shook his head in resignation, forsaking those thoughts. They were unable to get him anywhere. Naruto arrived in the market district a short while later. He created 2 shadow clones, who underwent a transformation and were given the money they required to do so. The clones were divided into groups of 2, each assigned to a task, one to go to the supermarket and the other to take his dirty clothes to laundromat. Begin by completing the first step. Naruto was walking towards Ichiraku Ramen when he suddenly saw something interesting. His new clothes, which were much less orange, made him unrecognizable to some of the villagers. The demon boy was the target of 1 or 2 of them who waved at him, but they stopped after realizing they were waving. Despite the growing sense of sadness within him, Naruto persisted in his march. Upon arriving at his preferred restaurant, he was able to let go of the feeling. He had the option to dine at other restaurants, but he always chose not to. He felt that it was a betrayal to do so. "Give me a miso ramen, and I'll have to keep eating," Naruto said. "Good to go?" Teuchi inquired if Naruto was with you. Naruto's expression was one of happiness, as he smiled. Teuchi began working on Naruto's order and asked, "Are you fond of my new clothes?" It's a different situation altogether as it stands today. Despite being distinct, in a positive manner. "Your tracksuit was taken away and put in the laundry," Naruto explained. "It's not feasible for me to be a ninja with unclothed attire, at least I don't think so. My new shop was a great source of bargain clothes that I'm wearing." "That's fantastic, Naruto. I'm relieved that you're doing well." Teuchi presented Naruto with a bowl of ramen. "Let's have miso ramen, 1." Naruto initiated the process by digging in. With an insatiable appetite for the taste of the broth and noodles, he quickly devoured the bowl. Yet, there was an enigma lurking beneath his skin. "Teuchi, can you shed some light on what nutrition means?" Naruto inquired. "It provides insight into the healthfulness of your food and can be easily remarked on. The more nutritious food is, the better your body will function, leading to greater muscle growth and improved fitness." "What is the reason behind your question? How can I make this ramen healthier?" Naruto took into account vegetables that were considered healthy. He scowled at the thought of it. "It didn't take away the taste," he added. Teuchi nodded in agreement, stating that, "I want to be a stronger ninja and I know it's not accurate. Don't worry, there's no need to fret. If you're interested in nutrition, I have a few tips to help you out. Tsuchi's expression was one of pure happiness, as he smiled. I promise to make it for you tomorrow by making something. Naruto's expression was a smile. Tsuchi acknowledged with a smile on his face after giving him another bowl. Naruto, it's not a problem at all. Anything for my preferred customer. After consuming 6 additional bowls of ramen, Naruto settled for his breakfast and proceeded to the bridge. During his journey, he came across the Hokage's administration complex. He had the urge to inform the old Hokage about his activities of the past 2 days, but he didn't feel the same way today. Although the Hokage was able to provide him with financial management and general advice, his inquiries about his parents, relatives, or even their clan became insignificant as the old man stopped responding. He remained convinced that the Hokage's reasoning was sound, but he wasn't ready to let go of his feelings and suffer another disappointment. Furthermore, he was no longer entirely confident in the Hokage's abilities. His profession as a ninja meant that he didn't receive the weekly allowance given to civilian orphans. Naruto's realization that he would have received money yesterday gave him the advantage of not having to depend on the stipend anymore. To do so, he must put his own weight behind him and work hard. He had to stop his prank-playing habit. They made him feel better, tested his abilities, and allowed him to target someone who was particularly rude or annoying as a way of getting revenge, but that wasn't the case with sagacious ninjas. There are other means to enhance his proficiency. Kakashi was the subject of Naruto's reflections, and if he wasn't willing to assist him, his strength would require another approach. The ninja scroll from Karini was not withheld, so he may attempt to locate her at a later time. Naruto's arrival at the bridge was marked by his teammates performing their usual duties, as Sakura gazed at them in a dreamlike manner, while Sasuke ignored her and entertained himself by thinking of whatever he thought. Before greeting his teammates, Naruto was about to do something when he remembered doing chakra control. He sat on the other side of the bridge while taking a leaf and reading. After committing to nearly an hour of practice, he observed a significant improvement in his performance at the gym. Whenever he tried to move the leaf, it would stick to his head for half an hour before either snapping off or sliding off. As the leaf stuck, its attachment time increased by approximately 1 to 2 seconds each time he did it. Even though he had made progress, the sight of the leaf falling for the 10th or 15th time was still too much to bear. His destination was far from being reached, and if he didn't concentrate with all his energy, his control would become less secure. He snorted and put the leaf away, then when he was calm enough to do it again for the exercise. He looked up and realized that his teammates didn't even acknowledge him, causing him to seethe in anger. Didn't they show any concern for him, despite his loudness being a factor? The Hokage was initially pleased with his team, as he believed that it would be like a second family. He had a strong affection for Sakura and would have been content with having her on any team to demonstrate his abilities and become friends with her. Sasuke's perception of him was a blend of both positive and negative. Knowing the feeling of being alone, he felt close to Sasuke, who didn't acknowledge their animosity and was so distant and unfeeling towards everyone else. Was he uninterested in anything? Kakashi was probably the most disliked. Kakashi had a strange feeling about him, as if he were an old friend. He was happy to have him as a sensei because of this. Nevertheless, he was only getting ready for another disappointment. He would not teach them until they were ready, even though he begged him to do so. He was stranded in a place where nothing could move. Sasuke had access to a comprehensive clan library that he could use to gain knowledge and power. Despite her parents being ninjas, Sakura managed to visit the public library without any assistance. Despite the possibility of accessing the library through other means, he wouldn't be sure where to begin. He was considering approaching the Hokage once more for aid, but he found someone else, Iruka. Iruka recognized his shortcomings as a shinobi and could guide him, prompting him to visit him after practice. Naruto asked, "Naruto? He looked up and noticed that his teammates were staring at him with strange expressions. He smiled at them, happy that they had finally shown him his identity. Sakura, Sasuke, and I have a great deal to talk about. He was given a nod by Sasuke. Naruto. Sakura's greeting went unanswered, but it was still satisfactory. She was preoccupied with observing him and his attire. He observed a smile creeping up her face, but then it was forced out before it could fully emerge, twisting into stoic expression. Naruto inquired, "Do you think wearing nice clothes would make me interested in you?" With eyes wide open, he observed Sasuke step back and look surprised. "Despite your appearance, Sasuke will always be better than you," as he said by holding his hand over his face. He looked directly at Sakura. "Just a Sakura, as I've called it. Refused to speak." Sakura was left with her mouth locked as Sasuke turned away. She swung her hands around her fists. "Naruto, Sasuke has become so enraged that Sasuke now despises me." What was the cause of Sakura's animosity towards him? Naruto gave him an easy victory. "The reason I bought these clothes is not to impress you, but because you damaged my tracksuit," Sakura retorted. "I'm confident that I wouldn't be mad. You should be thanking me for getting rid of that garment." He gnawed his teeth, sensing the fact that they were constantly grinding against each other. This was not a possibility, it simply couldn't be. It was unmistakable that he required a break. He opted to depart from the bridge. "Where do you intend to go, Naruto?" "I need to cool off." Naruto's temper heightened as he tried to avoid violent shaking while swearing. Sasuke referred to Naruto. Naruto's walking skills improved, and he is now stronger than ever before. "You must return to it. We cannot do anything today if you don't. We are looking for your presence." Figures. Sasuke's attempt to acknowledge him only happened as he was about to depart. Without revealing his face to Sasuke, Naruto raised his hand in the air. He let it slide behind him and walked into the nearby woods. A few minutes later, Naruto returned with a lighter-looking face. Sasuke's expression was a murmur. "Glad you took a listen. The earlier we complete these foolish drills, the more advantageous it is to acquire jutsu proficiency." Naruto's response, smiling, was heard as he answered. Indignant huffs were heard from Sakura as she held her breath. "Yeah. We're open to new faces, even if they don't speak their minds. I don't have any romantic feelings for you, right?" Naruto's face muttered in an awkward grimace. He then relaxed and calmed down. He had to perform those exercises, and no amount of anger would stop him from doing what was right. Naruto stumbled through the undergrowth, tossing and throwing branches and roots. He found it difficult to understand why he chose to pursue Sakura, as all of his previous encounters with her were playing out in his mind. She had no interest in him and never gave him a chance. Although Sasuke was better than her, his only concern was that they were on the same team and had to perform those unintelligent teamwork drills. In the meantime, Sasuke would stand by him, but in other circumstances, he wouldn't spare anyone's life. They were once expected to be a team, friends, and family, but their relationship changed. Naruto was uncertain about the subject. Sakura was almost stopped by Kakashi's efforts. Yesterday, Kakashi made history by stopping Sakura's garbage for the first time. He walked through the woods, his anger melting away, but an hour or so later, he felt a ghost pain radiating from the back of his head and around his back. A plethora of memories entered his brain, revealing the exact destiny of his clone. "The shuriken must be performed in the right manner, loser," Sasuke warned. He had bleeding in his fingers from a shallow wound. Naruto smirked in wonder. "Don't call me a loser, **T. Sakura exclaimed, raising his voice to warn him not to curse. Sasuke looked astounded as Sakura. "Stay away." Following some physical activity, Kakashi instructed them to use a shuriken instead of an egg during the previous day's exercise. They were forced to catch it without touching the sharp edges, which was not Sasuke's intention, leading to the fight. The sudden flurry of power that Sasuke unleashed on Sakura had left him in disbelief. Sasuke, however. I'm not looking for your aid, right? Naruto responded with a sense of relief. The cracks on Sakura's knuckles were felt deeply. What did you inquire about? She stooped to hit him, but Kakashi kept her company. Sakura, that's satisfactory. Breathe deeply and find some peace. We refrain from fighting with our teammates. Sakura was unable to engage in anything beyond being held by Kakashi. Her green eyes were filled with rage as she began to water up from the inside. Sakura's anger was intensified by his tendency to cry as he watched him. If Kakashi were to cry while performing his job, she would laugh at him. With his icy gaze, Sasuke stared intently at him. Ordinary. Don't call me a loser again, or you'll regret it, Naruto declared. It was a rapid unfolding sequence. Sasuke insulted him by saying, "You are unable to do this," and Naruto quickly ran towards him, only to punch him before unleashing his jab on him. When you lose, you become a loser. Naruto's gaze transformed into a frozen state. If Kakashi had completed his job at first, it wouldn't have happened if he intervened only when everything was about to fall apart. Kakashi would find another team if he wasn't content with being a good teacher. With his previous experience as a sensei, Karini may have been able to join Team 8. If it meant avoiding Team 7, he would join any other team. After a while, Sasuke was dissatisfied with Kakashi and only took matters into his own hands. He believed that Sakura's feelings were more important than anything he had ever encountered. He used to ignore the situation and try again, but after gaining true friendship with Karini, he realized that it was pointless to be friends with people who refused to have any contact with him. Sure, you're here. Naruto's ecstatic state of mind was brought to light by the powerful voice, which caused him to be transported to an unfamiliar training ground. This training facility is being utilized by us due to our busy schedule. You must depart from my presence to prevent any harm. Despite this, he was aware of the sexual function. He wasn't really keen on saying hello, but instead, he was staring at the man who must have been their Chunin-sensei. His hair was black and spiky, and his beard covered every inch of his jaw. The hidden leaf uniform that he donned included a green sleeveless flak jacket, blue long slanted shirt, and matching pants. His sash with the kanji for fire was the only noteworthy item. There was a certain quality to his appearance, which seemed familiar. Despite Naruto's barely disguised shock, the three genitalia looked on with determination towards his judgment. Are you able to hear me? The Chunin inquired. I did, Naruto said to himself, and yes, I did. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. If you're familiar with the Hokage, you should be aware of who I am. The Chunin gave a brief glance before smiling slightly. She said, yeah, I know you. Asuma Sarutobi, who is also known as that. Asuma drank from his cigarette and let out a smoky black smoke. Naruto's suspicion was corroborated by a small smile on his face. Good day, I'm excited to meet you again. Asuma nodded and Naruto observed as Team 10 looked on with astonishment at their conversation. Ino, at least. Despite being surprised, Chai persisted in eating his bag of chips while Shikamaru kept staring at him. Are you with your team, Naruto? Asked Asuma. The tears in Naruto's eyes were threatening to break down as he frowned. His thoughts boiled over as he shook his head and contemplated meeting with either Iruka or Karini again. He had no option but to weep in the presence of individuals who didn't show any concern. Naruto stated that, we were released by our sensei. He released himself, but they didn't have to be informed. He let go of his throat, his voice was becoming more squeaky. Asuma nodded in agreement. I acknowledge the statement. Naruto kept his new, unrestricted mask on him. Is there anything you need to do here? He was able to concentrate and forget his feelings. He asked if he could train with him and your team. Apologies, but I'm not allowed to do that. Naruto's eyebrows were raised off by his brow. It was a good idea, but he didn't have much of an expectation in the beginning. Adding more genin would only add insult to injury for our four-man team, who are already struggling. I don't think it would be fair to Kakashi if I were secretly training his genitals. Naruto answered in response. The intensity of the resentment was too high to express clearly. Instantly, Ino's face flickered with a smile. Asuma-sensei, if Naruto wants us to join him, then I can be part of Team 7 instead. You're still with us, too. Asuma smoked another puff of his cigarette. You can observe us train if you like, but you can't stay for too long. It seems to me that a guy who has the same qualities as you is interested in someone. Naruto revisited Team 10 again and delved into the story. Ino was choking, Chai was still chipping away at his bag of chips, and Shikamaru was watching him closely. Throughout the entire experience, he had never misplaced his eyes. Shikamaru remained attentive as they made eye contact, even refusing to shut his eyes. He opted to make strange hand gestures that caught Asuma's notice. Asuma raised his eyebrow, but he nodded in agreement with Shikamaru. Asuma mentioned that they would be taking a break. Ino, Chai, let's start. It is important for me to discuss something with your parents. Is Shikamaru going to accompany us? Chai inquired. He can make up. Asuma's expression was a murmur. Exercising will be beneficial for him. Asuma seized his genitals and carried them in a burst of leaves. Naruto observed Asuma's departure from his ship. If Shikamaru used this as a sleep aid, then it would be advantageous for him. He had reached the point where he should depart. Naruto, please, Shikamaru remarked. He asked, what is it? To tell the truth, he was satisfied. He wished to go to Iruka and then return home, where he could sleep without being confronted by anyone. Naruto's response was a grimace. Are you alright? Hey, everything is alright with me. Are you aware of that? He asked, then closed his eyes and smiled. I'm doing a great job, don't you think? Upon opening his eyes, Shikamaru appeared to be standing face down with his hands folded. Naruto inquired whether Kakashi had let them go, and was quoted as saying, yes, with the assumption that he would be aware of it. Shikamaru's expression was one that indicated he didn't smile. Naruto, don't be dishonest. You're not proficient in it. The mask he had attempted to conceal was disintegrating in front of his eyes. He was unable to break down, not in this place. What's up with that? Shouldn't you be sleeping somewhere? I know it should be almost noon, but if I nap now I'll have lunch. He immediately glanced at the sun. It was at its highest point, almost floating in the air. He was essentially at the bottom of the heap. Why didn't you depart with your team? I just wanted to have a conversation with you. Naruto's tongue was struck by him. You're a deceiver, you know. Shikamaru removed his hands from his pockets. I'm here, right? You know what? Why did Asuma leave me when we were in training? Naruto asked. Asuma didn't have any justification to leave his team's training facility, but he did. Following Shikamaru's gesture. The fact that I left my team is irrelevant, as it's not worth any of my time on this matter. There was a small grimace on his face. You resigned from your position on the team. Shikamaru shook his head and said, we've finished our training. Naruto. He held on for the rest of his life despite all the emotions he had been bottling up. Despite his opponent's efforts, Shikamaru persisted in staring at him and forcing him to release his gaze. I got angry with my team and I ran away, okay? He asked. Alright, you're still yourself, even now. I had the impression that I was assisting Sasuke. I'm a complete opposite of Sasuke, who is completely uninterested except for himself. He would be aware of the amount of people who loved him if he did. Shikamaru scowled. You're not popular, but you never let that stop you from being so outspoken, so why bother doing it now? Naruto appeared to have snorted it. I don't have any knowledge whatsoever, he replied politely, without any hint of embarrassment. Naruto, can you shed some light on this? If you are not envious of Sasuke, what was the reason behind your decision to stop training? Naruto's shouting didn't bother him at all, and it appeared as if he was not clueless about his surroundings. I'm still trying to figure out why you care, Naruto said. It appeared to me that energy was being wasted by not concentrating on anything, she said. Shikamaru chimed in response. Although it's a struggle, this isn't the case. Even though we haven't seen each other for a while, we're still close friends. Naruto's voice trembled, as it brought to mind a pleasant and prosperous memory that gradually seemed more like nonsense with each passing day. Naruto stated that, those who abandon the mission are scum, while those who leave their colleagues are even more dishonest. Shikamaru asked, who said that? Naruto observed the grass on the ground with interest. Kakashi-sensei. He smirked. This quote is fantastic. If Kakashi were to say that, he wouldn't be an incompetent educator. Naruto's eyes were icy and unfeeling. Weary? It's unfortunate that he doesn't impart any knowledge to me, and it'll be frustrating for some. He desires us to be a strong team before learning any jutsu. What's the matter with that? Asuma mandates us to participate in team exercises. He smirked. Sasuke's behavior towards me is reprehensible, as Sakura has never shown any concern for me, leading him to become a bastard and disapproving of my teammates. They didn't realize the difference between me and the clone until I left it with them. Eliminated. Shikamaru extended a hand. I doubt you were able to perform the clone jutsu. Naruto sighed and identified himself as a shadow clone. Don't hesitate to touch it. With his fist out, Shikamaru pressed his forehead and proceeded to use Naruto's clone as a punch. It was thrown out shortly afterwards. Damn, you created an authentic clone of flesh and blood, Shikamaru stated. Dad's opinion was that it was too much for a genin, as he stated. Naruto spit his penises out to the audience. He had put in a lot of effort to create only one clone rather than 12, and his chakra control was only achieved through the leaf exercise. I'm confident that if I learn Shadow Clone Jutsu, I can also acquire other Judaism techniques. Nevertheless, the issue is that I am uncertain about how to begin. Shikamaru's stare at him with his beady black eyes did not result in any laughter or remorse, only embarrassment. Are you able to find the archive library, which is not accessible to the general public? No. Nevertheless, I am not likely to be received there. Shikamaru bowed as he spoke. I don't know why you're thinking this, but if it's bothering you, I can lend some books to you at home. Naruto's breathing was. You're gonna do that, he said with a shrug. Is that not what you were looking for? Those books won't make me long for any more. Naruto's eyes were shut by him. He couldn't fathom that something as sluggish as Shikamaru could be such a kind human being. He widened his eyes. Shikamaru shook his fists with eyebrow raised and asked, Are you absolutely sure about this? Naruto became aware of his seriousness when he looked him in the eye shortly after. I'm confident in my certainty. Naruto's expression was a smile. It was tentative and uncertain, but it was authentic. He was aware that Shikamaru had a favorable position for him. Shikamaru deserves my thanks. He also smiled. No problem, it doesn't matter. My dad always urges me to do what's right, and observing you like this is heartwarming. It is my understanding that doing what's right for you is the correct course of action. He extended his hand towards the sky. Naruto greeted Shikamaru and asked if they were still friends after shaking his hand. Responses are given by friends. Naruto was compelled to join his team and immediately left, prompting him to enroll in the Ninja Academy. The time had arrived for a journey to Iruka. He never thought that he would choose to return to school with the intention of learning. It was evident that he didn't enjoy sitting and listening to uninteresting lectures. Nevertheless, there was a first-time experience for everything. He must have knowledge of the areas to improve his strength in order to achieve stronger results. The fact that Shikamaru spoke all of that stuff still baffles him to this day. The possibility of forming a friendship with someone his age was appealing to him, but the reality was that he knew Shikamaru. After quitting school, Naruto believed they had a connection, but it eventually disintegrated and Shikamaru began to view him as an annoying nuisance or uncivilized person, similar to other children. Shikamaru's decision to send his team away for conversation seemed too pedestrian, according to him. He was not naturally suspicious, but after being pushed around by Sasuke and Sakura, he wasn't ready to be taken seriously. Fortunately, Shikamaru seemed to be superior to that. Shikamaru wasn't attempting to solve a mystery or use his pain to hurt him, even though he gave him difficulty. He genuinely desired to assist him. Shikamaru aimed to establish a friendship. He acknowledged that he appreciated it more than Shikamaru would ever realize. Upon entering the academy, he was bewitched by a torrent of memories. He had sorted his clothes and procured the necessary food. It's likely that he'll have a good meal tonight. Naruto's entrance to the academy was greeted by a beaming smile as he made his way. Walking through these halls as a genital was still strange, but with only lingering shivers or passing glances, he had little to be afraid. To make himself more presentable, Naruto climbed into the boys' bathroom. The redness of his eyes persisted. Despite feeling slightly inebriated, he was back to being normal with just a splash of water. Upon discovering Iruka's classroom, he quickly remembered its location and returned to it. He arrived precisely when the students were taking a break for lunch. Iruka was occupied with grading papers. "Who's up there?" Iruka questioned. Naruto's expression was one of happiness, as he smiled. Iruka put his pen down and smiled at Naruto. "Who am I?" he said. "Good to see you, Naruto." Another person looked at him with wide eyes. "To be honest, I'm a little surprised that you're here," he said. "I just wanted to see you, Iruka-sensei." "I'm pleased you made the visit." Naruto inquired, "How's life been treating you as a genin?" "I'm doing well, but I require your help." Naruto nodded as he spoke. Iruka pointed at the chair that was close by. "Please take a seat, please." He recollected that Iruka had made him sit in the corner after distorting his lecture. He was content to sit down as he wasn't being punished this time. Iruka inquired about the fate of his tracksuit. Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. "A friend of mine bought me these clothes because they were unhygienic." Iruka grinned, but it was warm. "It's a pleasing appearance. I'm glad you're making new friends." "In addition, I'm here," Naruto said, holding his pants tightly. "What's the need for you?" Naruto inquired of Iruka, his gaze fixed on the ring. "I'm uncertain about where I can enhance my skills. You're a good friend of mine, so I thought it would be beneficial for me to come face to face with you." Iruka gazed at him with equal determination. An honest man must admit his faults, but it's even more significant to seek help. "Naruto, I'm honored that you're aware of this." He had such a strong heartbeat that it barely could move. "Iruka-sensei, thank you very much." A momentary smile was given to him by Iruka. Despite this, the initial step is to have a sense of urgency to seek aid. You'll have to put in a lot of effort to improve yourself, but it seems like you're already aware. Naruto nodded as a gesture of acknowledgement. "You're the type of individual who learns most by trying out new things, rather than being instructed or taught how to do them." Naruto said, "You were shadow clone jutsu. How did you learn how to do this, didn't you?" I knew that I needed to learn so that eventually I could make those clones. Iruka nodded in agreement. In fact, it is. Without a goal, you won't reach anything. Pushing a boulder up incline can be done, but without prior knowledge, it may end up pushing the boulder into ash or volcano. Having a clear objective will help you concentrate and give direction where you need to go. If both of these are absent, the hard work you put into it will be insignificant. While Naruto absorbed everything, Iruka's comprehension was based on the fact that many of the words were common phrases. That's the issue with me. I'm starting from scratch, can you tell me where to start? My chakra needs to be more regulated, but it's a tough job. Naruto nodded and asked if he had ever done the leaf exercise. He corrected himself before giving a grimace, but admitted to stumbling over it due to his numerous errors. I said, yeah, but I completed that. I created an exercise that I am unable to complete due to my own inability to do it. Iruka's expression was one of pure happiness. Why don't you come up to me? Naruto inquired, before jumping through the nearest window and leaving his deserted chair in place. He picked up a piece of the leaf and came back to it. With a stoic expression, Iruka exclaimed, "You're not in my class anymore," and proceeded to shake his head. Naruto's sole response was a smile, not anything else. He placed the leaf on his head and allowed it to stick for 30 seconds. The leaf was pushed away by him with the chakra, but it didn't fall gently. "Are you attempting to push away the leaf?" Iruka inquired. Naruto's expression was one of grumbling. "Iruka-sensei. No, I just wanted the leaf to stick to another part of me. If I had it on my forehead, I would pull it towards my hand or chest with only my chakra." With his eyes closed, Iruka placed his hand on his chin. He nodded in agreement, understanding. "Please provide me with the leaflet." Naruto gave it to Iruka and observed him perform the exercise independently. After a few attempts, Iruka was able to make the leaf bounce onto any part of his body and make it appear effortless. Iruka's chakra control was a revelation to Naruto, who exclaimed, "Whoa," with gleeful eyes. The compliment made Iruka swoon with delight, as she said, "You did it, dear." The amount of chakra required to move a leaf is not significant, but it must be equal to the amount used to pull it in. Did Naruto's head move up and down as he exercised, and did you feel like you were experiencing different results? The leaf would occasionally fly away or fall off, but on other occasions, it would just drop down and stay still. I had a feeling that it was so. Using the same amount of chakra every time is enough to complete this exercise, and I'm confident that you can do it consistently. The words spoken by Iruka sounded familiar, like a whisper or ringing of euphonium. If he couldn't remember the reason, it would probably come back to him at some point. Naruto smiled, "I got it. Thanks, Iruka-sensei." Iruka's expression was one of pure happiness. "When we're finished, say thank you. If you possess the ability to control your chakras with accuracy, ninjutsu would be a game changer. You possess a larger number of chakra reserves than most people, making it possible for you to quickly learn high-level jutsu." According to Naruto, do you share his opinion? Did it not mean that he couldn't learn jutsu and become a super strong shinobi? To begin with, it's important to grasp the basics. That dream is a thing of the past, but that's about it. He was aware that it would be a difficult journey, but he was willing to put in the effort. What else is required of your taijutsu? Iruka acknowledged his proficiency in taijutsu with a smirk of surprise. You're not up to the mark with what you should be. You possess the ability to take a punch and have an exceptional amount of endurance, but you must improve on the fundamentals. You tend to move too quickly, resulting in anyone you fight with seeing you from a mile away. Your attacks consume a significant amount of energy, which is not harmful because of your endurance and stamina. The word was present, indicating the fundamentals. Despite his understanding of Iruka's intentions, he had a painful memory of being punished for hastily carrying out his attacks. How can I improve my performance? Start by practicing your punches and kicks until you are able to execute them correctly, without wasting any extra time. Learning to read your opponent's tactics can aid in gaining an advantage, but it requires practice. Iruka was fully aware of his difficulties. He could use his clones to practice, but he has already done so before and should dance with his shadow for better form. I asked, "Are you willing to help me, and that's your job as a sensei, Naruto?" Iruka replied. Naruto's gaze was fixed on the wall as he pouted. It would have a lot of positive impact on him. What are some ways to improve my taijutsu and chakra control? There's no way for you to recognize Genjutsu, but there are people who can help you with that. Due to his lack of knowledge on Genjutsu, he would continue to struggle with the sport. How can you exit a Genjutsu? The most effective way is to let your opponent's chakra enter your body. But, I recommend that you concentrate on the details and not dwell on what doesn't make sense at all. The chances of an illusion being created by a Genjutsu being real are very low, and if you remain in limbo for too long, that gives your opponent enough time to take down the other fighter. Genjutsu requires a significant amount of determination to defeat them. That's how he was supposed to dismantle those delusions. It would be easy for him to see his own chakra, but he wasn't very fortunate. Genjutsu was a topic of discussion for me, as Iruka frowned. It's not the right time for you to start doing it. I'm not sure what to choose, but Genjutsu is known for its attention to detail. To identify problems in an illusion, it is essential to know your enemy and nearby areas to ensure they are aware of your actions. To avoid losing your opponent in a Genjutsu, one must have significant chakra control. Although it takes less time to learn ninjutsu, mastering the sport can be more challenging for those who are proficient in it. Iruka's lack of proficiency in planning made it seem like he could handle it without difficulty. Maybe he'll postpone it until later or some other time. I am aware, I see. Iruka smiled softly at him. While you may not be able to do it perfectly, you can tackle chakra control and taijutsu in this way. Naruto's expression was a smile. Ah, that's a good point. Thank you. Naruto accompanied Iruka as he stood up. I'm pleased to hear that you're exhibiting such high levels of dedication to your training. It is my belief that you have the potential to become a successful ninja. Iruka-sensei, thank you. We extend a warm welcome to you. I have a question for you. Iruka's eyes widened as he asked, "What the hell is that?" Naruto scowled and asked why you were not asking Kakashi the questions. He's preoccupied with collaborating on projects. I don't think he has any interest in doing anything else. Naruto chose to show Iruka a smile instead of mocking him for disrespecting his squad leader. I cannot provide a specific explanation for why Kakashi is not doing anything, but he saw potential in you and your fellow players. Did you know that Naruto's Team 7 team was the first one he ever passed, with his mouth ached? Was Kakashi's perception that they were worth something incorrect? I've tried to be patient, but it doesn't seem to work. He has yet to teach us a jutsu or any chakra exercise, so I trust that Naruto's patience will pay off. While it may be challenging at the moment, there is no reason to make any efforts without feeling uneasy. During this time, you are aware of what to concentrate on. He was uncertain about the success of it, but Iruka had identified his shortcomings and aided him in refining his abilities. He had accomplished his objectives and was also attempting to improve his personal life. He could be content with his team as the only thing on his mind. It's possible that he would be fine. Naruto made his way to the meeting point with his team the following day. He contemplated evading, but Kakashi was likely to come across him. He was still infuriated by what happened to his team, but he wanted to give them another chance. Iruka had many valid points, so it's likely that Kakashi did have a plan. The outfits were identical to those worn by him yesterday. He'd be getting his clothes after training. He ate miso soup and milk for breakfast, as he wanted to experiment with healthier options that were easy to make. If not for the fact that a cookbook would force him to try out recipes and potentially ruin his precious food, he would have purchased it. Naruto was soon at the bridge. With a smile on his face, he waved to his teammates and showed them respect. He was met with a pair of eyes, one from Sasuke and the other from Sakura. With his arms crossed over his chest, Sasuke was in motion. Naruto, it was a pleasant experience. It's not our fault that we went without a mission for another day, and we appreciate your contribution. Once more, we'll execute the teamwork drill, according to Kakashi. Naruto's expression was deafening. Just do it, let's finish the drill. Are you satisfied with what you've just read? Sasuke pondered. I don't mind if you dislike these exercises, but I'm not going to throw a fit about them. It's better to stop these foolish workouts as soon as we can. Did it, and closed his eyes, flexing his fist. Sasuke was correct, even if he seemed to be making a big deal about it. Naruto's breath was piercing as he exhaled. It was a good one for me. Good. It's best for me to steer clear of your attempts at obstructing my progress. Sasuke's black eyes caught the eye of Naruto, who looked straight into them. Don't interfere with my plans, either. Sasuke struck his tongue, but he maintained a stoic posture. Sakura inquired, are you still a tough kid? Sakura was seen by Naruto looking at Sasuke when he turned around. You're telling me that you fought Sasuke but he kicked your ass when you tried to fight him. I have a memory of it. With a wide-eyed glance, Sakura subsided and looked back at the camera. In case you're uncertain. It's better to avoid getting angry if you commit an error. If you do it, you know what's going to happen. Actions, not idioms. Actions, not utterances. Despite his desire not to engage in a fight with Sakura, he couldn't allow her to walk all over him because of his crush. Perhaps, I'll be fine with it. It's a good idea to be nice, she quipped. When you become a loser, I'll treat you with kindness. Naruto's expression was one of pride, as he smiled. There was no feeling of happiness or contentment. I'm not crying at all, at least I don't feel like it. The noise emanated from Sakura's growl turned into a manic scream. She yelled, "Why you?" and fist-toed up to him with her right hand. The fury in her bulging green eyes meant she wasn't going to rape him on the head. He grasped her wrist, which was a centimeter away from his face. He instinctively hit Sakura with his other fist before realizing it. His chin was hit by her blood. Don't harm me again. Naruto exclaimed, and he barely recognized the intensity of his voice as it had become harsher. Naruto's floodgates caused him to lose his temper and pain, leaving him with a broken heart. Kill her, kill her. What happens to Naruto Uzumaki? Someone obstructed Sakura's path and took him away shortly after. His fist was gripped by a force that made it impossible to break even when he tried desperately. Are you feeling up to it, Naruto? Kakashi inquired. With the knowledge that his target was unharmed, he was left with no choice but to endure the desire to crush and kill. Naruto shook his head intently. Wouldn't it be strange if you were about to hit Sakura? His lips were not chafed by his teeth. You're here at a late hour. Kakashi released his hand and asked if they were working together. No, let's talk. Sasuke and Sakura can be found at the mission assignment desk. With a grimace in his eye, Sasuke gazed at him. Naruto looked into Sasuke's eyes, then after 5 seconds turned around to walk away. He could still see the terror in his eyes, as if he were under a spell. Sakura touched her bloodied lip before grasping her stomach. Fear or rage was shaking her, and her mouth was wobbling. He was uninterested in either direction. She scoured the vicinity to find Sasuke, but he had already left. She hurried to be with him. Naruto turned his back on the bridge, with his forearms pressed against it as he faced towards the river. His body was consumed by an immense amount of anger, causing him to feel sick. Kakashi was a companion to him. How's everything going, Naruto? He asked. Naruto's eyes were fixed on the river in a perpetual motion. I'm uncertain of what I can count on. Can you provide me with the details? You're experiencing some unease about something. You've put in a lot of effort to handle individuals who don't like or respect you, but your patience has run out. Is this accurate? He inquired of his teacher in disbelief. He was unable to see Kakashi's face from above. Naruto, how did you pass the time? It doesn't strike me, Naruto murmured. Kakashi sighed. It's fine to be angry, but you shouldn't show it off to your teammates. Naruto looked intently at Kakashi's concealed eye. Is it permissible for Sasuke to label me as a loser or for Sakura to treat me poorly? I have to inform you that I spoke to Sasuke yesterday after he provoked you, and I'll communicate with Sakura once she cools down. Regardless of your actions, you are an integral member of this team. He held on to the railing, attempting not to provoke anyone. Why bother being here? They won't care about me just because I talk to them, they've been like this all along. Staying the same doesn't mean that others will change you. I attempted to work with them, Kakashi-sensei, but I was unsuccessful in my efforts. Naruto's eyes were directed towards the river once more. The only mistake I made before today was to make a clone go on your mindless teamwork exercise. By doing this, you exposed yourself to your own group and caused pain to those on your team. You didn't respect yourself and your team. Naruto's gaze shone brightly as he turned right, but Kakashi was on his left. The only one's eye was visible and he was tougher than coal. Kakashi's actions involved defending himself and acting selfishly, which made him question his respect for the team. When you're working with defiant individuals, your team will be swarming them with people who want to undermine you at every opportunity, and you won't have the right to quit. Are you planning to escape? I stay grounded and don't flee. Don't escape danger, please. You've done a good job of making friends with your teammates and getting over their behavior. Don't let your anger get the better of you and fail yourself. Despite Naruto's decision to let go of the railing, his frown persisted on his face. Why did you not take the initiative to address the problem when you knew it was a serious issue? I gave you ample time to work on it, but your problems were more significant than what we expected. That's the reason I've been teasing you on those exercises for so long. There is no jutsu I can teach you, but rather learning how to work in a team and trusting your fellow shinobi. Is it possible that throwing eggs and shuriken will increase my trust in Sasuke and Sakura rather than learning jutsu? If you are capable of infiltrating a stronghold, it should be incredibly simple to learn. Naruto's expression was one of scowling. It's unlikely that we'll be able to secure a stronghold anytime soon. He gnawed his teeth. Our collaboration as a team is only getting worse. I don't, Kakashi replied. Despite being too angry and hurtful to witness it, you're still improving your situation. He laughed and closed his eyes. The Hokage's assertion that your first genin team should be like a family is laughable, but how can we be compared to others if you're the only one who trusts me? I loathed my teammates, but I trusted my sensei, and I learned to accept and trust them. Naruto claimed that Kakashi's gaze revealed the solitude in his eye, which he observed with disbelief. Only one person can make you believe in a certain way. His eye was as shielded as it has always been. Wasn't he stuck with his team? Asuma was unwilling to allow him into his genitalia, and Karini had her own concerns. Nonetheless, Kakashi was truly dedicated to the task at hand. He recognized his difficulty as much as he did. Naruto pushed himself up from the railing. Excuse me, I'll keep following. Thanks, Naruto. I truly appreciate it. Naruto's head was shook by him. You don't acknowledge my efforts by saying, thank you. There's no other alternative that can provide a better outcome than what I have at present. You're still giving us a chance to shine, even though you haven't given up on this matter. That's my sole request. He turned around and raised his fists in a bid to show Kakashi his hand. "I'll do my job, but you're the one who's causing trouble. If you want to improve our team, do it. Nevertheless, I'm not expecting Sakura and Sasuke to be friends." Naruto approached the mission assignment desk in stunned silence. Time was the only thing that allowed him to contemplate his actions at the bridge. Sakura was rude, but he should not have hit her. He had never been so angry in his life. Despite not feeling too guilty about it, he should never have experienced it again. He shouldn't have yelled at Kakashi either, but he had to convey his feelings clearly. The sensation was like something had been lifted from his chest. Does it feel good? This is what being able to speak up for oneself feels like. Naruto said, "Where are you? Don't be a coward, show yourself." Naruto's response to the question is simple: say yes to me. The villagers around Naruto looked at him, but he didn't receive any response. A man from the village came to Naruto and asked if there was anything on his face. "Kid, what are you up to?" "Regardless of what?" The man's expression was filled with scorn. "You're making a fool out of yourself, don't you?" Naruto asked him with all his might. "I've been neglected by others and treated me like a repulsive waste. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'll make you feel guilty if you ever saw anything else." If anyone looked at Naruto, he would give him a look in return. What was the reason behind his decision to become a Hokage rather than protecting these people? Why did he choose this path? Because it was perceived as pharaoh territory and not suitable for children. Naruto took some time to relax and enjoy himself. He had to complete a senseless task, after which he could journey to Ichiraku Ramen and meet people who treated him with dignity. Naruto left Ichiraku Ramen after finishing the mission and was seen wandering through the village. Tora, the cat belonging to the Fire Lady, had to be taken by his team, and it took an extended day to catch up with her. Naruto was the one who took Tora's life in the end, and he had been unusually quiet with him. The silver lining of being with Team 7 was that they didn't get any scratches. He remained silent throughout the mission, except when it was necessary. Despite his anger towards the others, he maintained his composure and focused on the mission at hand. Although it made them feel uneasy, Naruto didn't mind as long as they were on the mission. He left right after the event. Naruto's mood was lifted after having lunch at Ichiraku Ramen. Tsuchi shared with him the method of making the ramen noodles. He included a component that concentrated on strengthening and firming the body's muscles. The ramen he consumed was converted into nutrients by the enzyme, without any alteration in its flavor. In order to make the ramen more nutritious, he used ingredients that were both healthy and eco-friendly. Despite not knowing where he found the amazing thing, Tsuchi was unconcerned about the possibility of eating sushi and getting fit. Naruto ended up on Team 10's training ground. Instead of catching the genin during their training, they were left on the ground while Asuma nursed a cigarette. With a lazy expression, Shikamaru smiled and said, "Hey, Naruto. How's everything going?" Naruto said with a smile. "It's fine with me," she said. "You're a dear one, isn't it? Each and every affliction is agonizing." Asuma extinguished his cigarette and moved towards them. "Good to see you, Naruto." Asuma's smile was noticed by Naruto. His mind immediately reacted to the fact that Asuma had not allowed him to join their team or train with them, which left some feeling disappointed as he didn't have the authority to do so. Naruto said, "It is good to see you, Asuma-sensei." Like most of the village, Asuma didn't harbor hatred towards him. "You seem to be doing better," Asuma commented. Naruto's smile remained constant. "I grasped the concept of what I had to do." Asuma looked at him for a moment, as if he were examining himself. After a while, he nodded and chose not to elaborate on his vague answer. "It's a good indication that you have something to say," added one. He shook his hands in joy. "Good job, guys, good to go for today's training. It's time to give thanks." Ino trembled, her arm resting on the ground as she groaned. "Excuse me, too much talking." Chai, on the other hand, ascended to his feet without any apparent exhaustion. Naruto declared, "I'm coming for free food." Asuma revealed that he had decided to let his team go home after their training. "We were given a double training session," Shikamaru stated. "This is such a shameful moment. According to Naruto, you were given more training and free food." He took a whiff of air out of his nostril. "That's not a problem," Asuma declared. "Naruto has his own way with it." Ino remarked that, "Asuma-sensei, you didn't have to go through your training." Chai's smile was accompanied by a grinning. Shikamaru and Ino reacted with loud grunting, "If I could get Yakiniku Q for 3 training sessions every day." "You're responsible for the cost of your meal," Asuma replied, but he still maintained his smile. Naruto smeared his nose. The sight of Team 10's fervor and enthusiasm was unforgettable. It triggered unfavorable emotions that he didn't want to experience. He never had the opportunity to take a break from teamwork with Sakura or Sasuke, and it was something that everyone hated. It was no longer relevant. Asuma urged the speaker to move forward, saying, "Come on. Let's commence before we get any more ideas." Despite their complaints, Shikamaru and Ino maintained a cheerful demeanor as they stood up straight away. Asuma and Chai were joined by Ino, while Shikamaru went to Naruto. Shikamaru urged him to go with the flow and move forward. "I'll be back to it later." An eyebrow was raised by Ino. "Shikamaru, you certainly wouldn't squander your free food." Naruto's appeal was acknowledged by Shikamaru, who shrugged off his worries. "I'll have to find out. Also, I'll be able to stay within my time frame." According to Asuma, the man's words were heard by you. Naruto was given a nod by him. "Naruto, it was good to see you again." Naruto gave him a second chance to receive the nod. "Asuma-sensei, as well as you, are part of this group." "Bye, Chai, bye Ino." With a smile on his face, Ino said, "Goodbye." Chai greeted him with a wave. "According to Naruto, we'll be examining you soon. Those are some nice clothes." Naruto observed the rest of Team 10's team leaving their training ground with a smile on his face, before facing Shikamaru. With a self-satisfied frown, he smiled deeply. Shikamaru stated that he had received the books you were looking for. Naruto's facial expressions were characterized by a smile that spread throughout his body. "Are you able to help me? Can you show me around?" Shikamaru retrieved the books from a scroll that had been sealed and gave Naruto 5 books. The title was written on a tan paper cover with all caps, as per the ideal shinobi's rules and maxims. The surface was quite slender. The thickness of the chakra control was greater than what he had anticipated due to the sky blue hardcover. Unlike the first 2 books, How to Train Properly had a red cover with sculpted ninja-like features instead of merely stating the title. A Genjutsu designed for novices had a cover that was dark purple and the title in white. The collection's only hardcover edition was this one. Shikamaru had acted with integrity for him. Despite the day's mostly chaotic and painful nature, it was a bright spot. He spotted the last book after that. Naruto inquired about the significance of Hidden Leaf Village, a history, in his quest. The book was the most extensive, but it also served as a historical account. The tale recounted outlines the path that led to our village and the obstacles it faced to become where we are today. He said no. He regrets that history was considered pleasant for some people, but not him. Naruto was about to give back the book, but Shikamaru pushed it into his hands and held onto it. "Did you know there was a section about an Uzumaki clan?" Naruto grabbed the book and read it intently, eager to learn more about his family and other clans. Shikamaru's hushed laughter pulled him from his search. "Don't waste time reading about your family members. Naruto, the story goes on and on. You own these books. Is that accurate?" He inquired, he replied. Shikamaru gave him a thumbs up. Shikamaru expressed gratitude with a smile. Don't bring up the topic. These books were taking up valuable space in households and keeping them would be a struggle. Naruto perused his other recent literary works. Despite the appeal of all others, Genjutsu for beginners was overshadowed by its unremarkable appearance. He inquired, do you know anything about Genji? Why did you come up with Genjutsu? Shikamaru asked. It seems like you could excel at it, provided that you put in a lot of effort. Is it your opinion that Iruka-sensei disagreed with me and refused to let this be a part of my story? It brought to mind the Hokage's belief that ninjutsu was the most suitable path for him. It's worth investigating, Shikamaru suggested. Genjutsu involves using your imagination, and you possess a lot of that. The practice of chakra control can be done daily, and it's much easier to create your own form than ninjutsu. The act of pranking people was an important part of the process, and it took some time to plan. Your pranks would not be easily noticed by others, so you had to be unpredictable and creative to avoid being predictable. Naruto nodded and replied, you understand my point. Genjutsu, as Iruka put it, required a great deal of concentration and attention to detail, but he was confident in his ability to execute it with skill. The village's top prankster was him. There is no doubt that he had the ability to plan. She said, yeah, I get it. Naruto's cranial movements were overshadowed by his head-scratching expression. It's true that I could improve my chakra control, but you still have to be resolute in your actions. The smile on Naruto's face broadened to include a wide smile. Alright, so you have to be very precise if you want your opponent to not break the genjutsu. Shikamaru said, you are going to work on your chakra control, right? Although I know the book you mentioned, it's not difficult for me to learn a couple of basic genjutsu. This will equip you with an understanding of how genjutsu functions. Hold on, genjutsu? Shikamaru asked with a smirk. Will you let me know how to do it? I'm not up to my standards. Although I am not a master of breaking them, I do know how to break them. Naruto's expression was squished, eyebrows raised, and eyes lit. It's possible that he could have been aware of the controversy and read the book, at least in theory. I'll contemplate it. Shikamaru removed his hands from his pockets. He inspected the assortment of books. Despite the importance of learning how to identify and dispel genjutsu, few individuals are willing to dedicate their lives to training. Ninjutsu, in my opinion, is more flamboyant than other forms of martial arts. Genjutsu is a challenging sport to excel in. Naruto lowered his head. It may be difficult, but I'm also challenging. He exhibited a bewildering expression by murmuring. You're not, aren't you? What do you think the villagers would say if you were to become masters of genjutsu, a sport that many people fail to learn because it's too difficult? Naruto attempted to envision the situation, but it was so overwhelming that he saw people gazing at him in amazement. Despite the competition, he managed to master a unique form of ninja art that was mostly forgotten in combat. They would need to acknowledge his talent and determination, then. He didn't have to worry about their animosity as his expertise would be a testament to his dedication. Despite their efforts, they were unable to remove that from him. Naruto stated that he would need to be aware of his actions. My goal is to become the most exceptional genjutsu instructor in this village. He was already generating ideas on how he could trick an enemy into taking cover or plot a successful outcome. Naruto Uzumaki is the genjutsu master known for his martial arts abilities. Shikamaru chuckled. It has a pleasant aroma to it. Naruto's expression was one of pure happiness. The realization of the immense amount of work required to improve his chakra control hit him hard. He would need a partner who could train him to break genjutsu and use it effectively. Although his clones could serve as effective test subjects, their genjutsu would be just as impressive as his. Naruto inquired, do you believe I am capable of doing it? He had a grimace in his cheek and looked dejected. Shikamaru maintained eye contact and clenched his fist while looking away. It's worth attempting to make it happen. Continuing your path towards Hokage is much harder than becoming a master of Genjutsu. If you have the ability to be a Hokage, it's highly probable that you can become an expert in Genjutsu. Naruto's smile bounced back like the sun risen, and his eyes sparkled with the glow of his determination. I think you're correct, Shikamaru. While it may be challenging, there are no tasks that are easy to accomplish. Believe it or not. Shikamaru's gaze widened as he smiled, followed by a lazy frown. That's the reason I keep saying this. His cheeks were slightly pinkish in color. Despite having Iruka as a good friend, he had never been fortunate to have someone his age. Shikamaru was proving to be the friend he craved, and having someone who could motivate him and see his potential would require some adjustment. Shikamaru deserves my thanks. Your assistance has been a tremendous blessing. He stated that it was not a problem. Friends have a tendency to be like that. He resorted to retrieving his scroll of sealing. If you require additional books, don't hesitate to ask. He retreated and began to walk without stopping. He shifted his gaze slightly before turning back. Alright, you can also drop by my house to have dinner or something. Are your parents okay with it? Naruto inquired. They've requested that I extend an invitation to you. Naruto's eyes were almost enlarged. Certain adults he didn't know wanted him to come to their own house. He had never thought of it. Just be patient and I'll be there if you do. Shikamaru gave a nod by nodding. Is it possible to do so? I'll be on the lookout for my teammate. Naruto, I hope to see you around. He waved his friend in the air. Shikamaru said, "Go ahead," and left Naruto to read all his books. He was enthusiastic about learning about his family's history and attempting to enhance his chakra awareness. His other books also seemed attractive, and he had to check out the Genjutsu book. It's possible that Karini had some knowledge of Genjutsu. Despite his lack of knowledge about her, he could only inquire with her. Naruto's mind raced through his books as he returned home, having forgotten what had happened all day. His future with Team 7 was bleak, but his future as an individual and hidden leaf thief could be more promising. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.